Tune the Harp's a different vibe than any of the stuff that we've worked on before, and I'm curious what were some of your visual cinematic influences?
You had sent a, shot list overview over the rough ideas you had. Once I was at the church and saw how beautiful it was set up with all the candles and everything, I found myself influenced a lot by the director who did It Follows. I had so much fun once we were at the those ruins that I've always wanted to film out for Lars von Trier.
Oh,
Melancholia.
Yeah.
Of lingering on those shots of Arselia in the dress in the forest. And I wanted to replicate this one specific shot, filming with a wide angle and using that 120 frames per second, slow motion.
You and I have done 5 videos together now.
Mm-hmm.
But Arselia, I'm curious to hear from your perspective. Tell us how you came to be involved with this project.
Matt was just sitting there talking about his influence, and I'm like, I don't know any of those. I know nothing about horror. But we are friends. I think it started because you posted that, your venue fell through.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I know this place. And you were like, actually, you would be in this video.
2 days ahead of time?
2 days before filming, yeah, you were like,
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be in this video.
I didn't know
And
that short notice.
The only time I have ever acted in my entire life was in, a 5th grade play, and I had, one line. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's try it.
You had to do a lot of acting in this, but you didn't have any lines, at least, right?
Yeah, right. I didn't have to say anything.
Matt mentioned It Follows, which is a horror movie that was kind of the breakthrough role for Micah Monroe, who's a horror darling now. She's been in Watcher, and she's been in Longlegs, and kind of a darling of the genre. And when I had the idea to cast you, I was like, Arselia has kind of a Micah vibe to her.
You totally did mention that.
Yeah. Doe-eyed vibe, but also had the potential to turn badass, to do the thing that what's asked of you, which is eventually an overcoming role, which is why I want to ask you both a horror question. Matt, to the uninitiated, one of the things that we talked about this video was that we were making a grindhouse piece. What does that what does that mean in general? What's that mean to you? And what did that mean for making this video the way we made it?
I would call it the quintessential drive-in movie, low budget, 1970s, like a B movie, cheap but entertaining, a movie that knows that it's not trying to be anything other than just a purely, splatterpunk horror fest.
Horror.
When you said that you wanted to keep the the title similar from Coffin Club, and then I had to go back and rewatch Coffin Club because I'd seen it when it came out, but that was months ago. I don't know, at least a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and rewatch it, and I was thinking how much I love that opening shot. I mean, I love that whole video. But how cool that opening shot is with that title card. And I was like, yeah, I love the idea of it being almost like a series, Yeah. I don't know how many songs you have for the album, but I like the idea of them sharing the same, world like that. And Coffin Club got pretty spooky too. I think it's more fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe all those shots where it's the barn and it's with the black paper mache mask and it gets very spooky. There's definitely some satanic grindhousey stuff going on. I wanted to go over the top with this and have the film burns.
Yeah.
And so I found this video, this green screen film burn video someone had made and uploaded of actual 35 millimeter film burning and scratching. And so all of those effects are taken from this 35 millimeter reel. It's not just a fake effect.
Wow.
Which I thought was think of also midnight cult films like El Topo, the Toolbox Murders, or the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes. Those are all I think of quintessential, grindhouse movies.
Arselia, you said you didn't know anything about horror movies. Did you know the trope of the final girl? Is that something you'd ever heard before?
No. I'm not kidding. I do not watch horror.
Well, you played her very well.
Thank you. I literally the only horror I've seen is the Haunting on Hill House.
Oh,
yeah. Which I love that show, and that is it Mike Flanagan?
Yeah,
Mike Flanagan.
I watched like all of his shows and I liked all of those, but literally the only other horror movie I've seen is like The Conjuring, and that's it.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's good horror. I love Mike Flanagan. He's so good at like adapting like Stephen King. He's good at like horror with like a heart.
Oh, his Gerald's Game was supposed to be an unfilmable story.
Yeah, and it was so good.
Midnight Mass was my favorite until The Fall of the House of Usher, which is way pulpier, but so am I. So I was like all there for it. Arselia, you had messaged me and said, is there anything specific that you want me to wear, again, with 48 hours of lead time? And I was like, well, I'll just go through your Instagram and pick out a couple shots where I think you look cool. And you're like, no, just send me references. I looked up like a list of the top final girls. And of course that means like the girl who like makes it through the movie and like gets away from the slasher while all the other stereotypes die along the way. I sent Arselia pictures of Sydney from Scream and the final girl from Texas Chainsaw and the girl from I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I was going through this list of final girls and they had Samara Weaving on there from Ready or Not, in which she's rocking a torn wedding dress and the bandolier and some like black chucks. And as a joke, I sent Arselia, I said, and then this one, if you're feeling crazy. And then tell us about what you did, Arselia.
So I went to Goodwill. I picked out like, I probably bought like $80 worth of Goodwill stuff. I kind of like tried to find something in the vibe of like all of the photos he sent, but I found this dress that was like a floor-length white dress, and I was like, this could work for that wedding dress photo, but it was a floor-length dress, and that one dress was like probably like just below the knees. Yeah. I could like pin it up and like sew it to make it shorter. So I sent Joshua a photo of with it just with like pins in it, and he was like, yeah, I like that. So then I like sewed all of the spots to like make it look like it was meant to be like that. Amazing. I am not a seamstress, but I just decided to try.
You say you're not a seamstress, you say you're not an actor. I beg to differ, my friend.
Yeah.
I have a belief in myself that I can do anything at least like okay. So.
Yeah.
What was it like for you when you saw The Priest?
I knew it was gonna happen, so it didn't feel scary at the moment. Actually, it was a little creepy. I think the creepy thing was that like I know you pretty well, and you're like a really safe person to me. And then, you like turn around with this mask on, and I can only see your eyes, but it's like, it doesn't feel like it's you anymore. And I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, I did feel like a little anxiety about it. But
it was palpable. We had to stand right next to each other for so many scenes, and I was like, I'm obviously in here being me the whole time, seeing your face very hesitant, like.
Right.
Or you'd turn around and kind of forget, and turn around, and there I am, and you're like, oh.
It made it a little easier to like play into the fear while I was acting, because you did look creepy.
The whole process. What was the hardest part for you, and what was your favorite part?
With any film job where there's a limited amount of time, the main like parameters, the main like restrictions were, okay, we have the church for this amount of time. It was like a few hours, something like that, and then fine filming until like it's dark out at a certain point, until one of the actors has to go home. There are always those constraints. So for me, it's like making sure I get a lot of good footage to use, so I have more than enough. How do you decide what to cut? But that's just the nature of any kind of editing, in any art form. Then in the editing, how it started to really come together, how awesome, Arselia, you were. There were so many good takes of you running, and then like just the looks of like terror on your face, the whole ending sequence, watching that narrative come together, and in the editing was really fun. And just the fun of the shoot was really enjoyable. Even like being like hot, walking down that trail, trying to took a wrong turn. It was a fun shoot, and I loved like how well the mask came together, how good the the blood packet looks
Yeah.
or whatever in the mouth. Like everything just came together really nicely.
I agree. It's amazing how smooth and serendipitous the whole process was for how ramshackle it was. But sometimes the best art happens with the hardest boundaries, right? What about you, Arselia? Hardest part, favorite part?
I think the hardest, there wasn't really a hard part for me.
I'm not an actor. I just breezed in, found the perfect costume, acted my ass off. No big deal.
It probably would have been a lot harder if I had to say anything. Just like running through a forest is not that hard to me. But like, the part that I was actually scared is when you gave me a knife and told me to run with it over like rubble.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna fall and stab myself. You were like, be doe-eyed, be contemplative, and I was just like, what does that mean? I'm like,
what's a final girl?
I don't know what to do with my face right now. Favorite part? Yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole shoot was just really fun. I love thrifting, so that's really fun. I love putting outfits together. And I loved, like, the very last scene where, like, the cross is in my hands and then it falls.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun, like, doing that and Joshua being like, no, I want it to be exactly like this, and him like saying what he wanted it to look like and then seeing it, the final product, and I was like, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Not like put it together and like made it exactly.
I love that shot too.
Yeah.
I love you both. What a cool thing we made. Thank you for helping me make it. But just wanted to kind of highlight you guys as makers while we put this thing out, because couldn't have done it without you.
Hell yeah.
Thanks
you
guys.
Asking me. It was really fun. Love you. Let's do it again sometime.